while it is so hard for me to listen to what this lady says, I have to debunk so much of the bullshit that she says because so many people listen to her. Most of what she says is based on her. It's not based on taking a global look of yourself and just the landscape. This lady has more data and more information, like she says it, but the data and the information that she has, she's not using it for good. She's only using it in one way, and that one way is not good. So I did a part 1 on this. This is gonna be part 2 because after a certain time, I just had to cut that shit off. So I took some time. Woosah, got away from it. This is gonna be part 2 of me listening to this shit. So I think on this part, she was talking about her interaction with Kevin Samuels.
I was never able to get him on my show, but then I went on his show. So what people don't know, because I knew that, during the interview, I was very shocked at our interaction because he made it seem like he didn't know who I was. We had already been DMing each other.
He didn't have to
I'm
know
like,
who
you know
you
who
were.
I am, but okay.
He didn't have to know.
And then
why is that important?
even in the DMs, I told him there were things that he said that I agreed with. And to this day, I will say there are things that he said that I agree with. What I don't agree with is I don't feel as though it's better to have a man that is maybe treating you bad than to have no man at all. Like, I would 100% tell a woman that if you are being spiritually broken by this connection with this guy, to release yourself and do the healing work on yourself instead of spending the rest of your life with a man that is taking you through turmoil. I feel like those are the things that we kind of differed on. And I feel like you can give truth with love. You don't always have to try to hurt people when you give them direct information. And I feel like we had a different style in there. But I will say this, I'm a very respectful woman, and he has since passed on. And I want to give him the respect that he's due as in no longer alive, right? I don't really want to talk negative about him. I did have some negative things I said about him after our interview.
So you're gonna qualify that and then proceed to do what?
Had some negative things he said about me after our interview, and at the end of the day, we just have to agree to disagree on some things.
Because you're wrong.
He ended up hanging up on me because the question, and I haven't watched this interview in so long, so forgive me, but I think the question that he asked me was, when would I tell a woman to focus on having kids? And what people don't know is, when I did that interview, I had 2 friends, both of my best friend, my high school best friend, and then like my adult life best friend. They were both pregnant. One was 40 and one was 41. They were both pregnant. So he was trying to get me to say that a woman should have a baby very early on, but it wasn't my truth. Like, I literally have friends that were pregnant later in life.
He's not. It's called anecdotal experience. Just because you have one person, 2 people, you can have 10 people. Biologically, a woman's makeup is not a good idea to get pregnant really past like 32 years old, as far as a woman goes. Just because it can happen, we can't base our lives on possibilities. Anything is fucking possible. If you live your life off of what's possible instead of probable, well, you know what? You're gonna end up a 46-year-old, semi-attractive, lonely lady like her. That's what you're gonna do. If you base your life off what's possible. Let's talk about probable. Yeah, you got 2 friends. that doesn't disprove the norm. Like, can we subscribe to any way of thinking, agree on anything? Or do everybody just want to be different? You're a snowflake. You're different than the next. You're different. You're different. You're different. You're different. Or will we be adults and come to some type of understanding is that you're 41, you're 42, you're pregnant. Okay. I mean, that's fine. That doesn't normally happen. Geriatric pregnancy sets in after the age of 32. That's why women need to figure out what they want well before that, especially depending on the amount of kids that they want. Once you hit 32, pregnancy becomes difficult. It's not impossible. And stop this shit. It's just biological. When a female is born, she has this number of eggs. We'll just say for the sake of example, she has 10 eggs when she's born. Of course, it's not that. Nobody knows. 20, she has 6. 30, she has 4. 40, she has 2. 50, maybe 1. Stop it. And then she gonna make this anecdotal argument, which sounds totally fucking ridiculous from an older woman. She's 46. She should definitely be more on the side of logic than she is with these Disney possibilities. Just let her continue. Goodness gracious, this shit is frustrating because women depend on her and they listen to her, but what she's talking about is totally in La La Land.
If they weren't young. And I do want to say this because on that show, I talked about freezing my eggs, and I did not realize that that was going to be taken so crazy. And I still tell women to freeze their eggs to this day if they want motherhood, and they may have to wait until they meet the right person. But there is something that I should.
There's
add
no
to that,
right person.
and I think this is fair. That is a money route. Like, that's the route you go if you have enough money to do it, because freezing your eggs costs a little bit. Well, not a little bit. Depends on what you consider little. Freezing your eggs costs money, and then the process to have a baby through the process
not guaranteed.
also costs money. And I do think I should add that component to it. But sometimes women...
Freezing eggs is fucking ridiculous. It's terribly expensive. Most women can't do that. You know what's more guaranteed than freezing your eggs is being impregnated by a man you would like to marry and spend the rest of your life with. That's way easier and it doesn't cost as much. What? Society has told a lot of these women, and they listen to each other. Like, why would you even bother freezing your eggs? This shit is easy. Lay down. It's not gonna take that long. You know.
They decide to become moms, and because that's important to them. Listen, I'm not here to judge you. What I will say is,
decide to become mom. She never even said anything about wives. And it's so fucked up, right? Women will decide to become moms, which that's a lifetime attachment, instead of a wife. I'm not for this, but at least if you decide to become a wife before a mom, at least you can get a divorce. But once you decide to become a mom, that's just a lifetime attachment. How does that make any sense? You know what? I know what it is. I watched They cloned Tyrone. Go look that up on Netflix. And it got my brain in some type of thinking to where, okay, yeah. It makes sense to why this woman right here is all delusional. She is gone. There is no bringing her back to reality. She's not living in reality.
It's not what's right for me, it's what's right for you. And you as a woman, you just gotta be able to take the consequences to any decision that you make. But to package it all up, no, I did not steal Kevin Samuel's style. I host a dating show. That's what I've always done. What I do is I give people an opportunity to utilize the platform to meet someone that they probably will never meet. And now we have the Kendra G Singles dating app. That's what I've always done.
Oh yeah, promote that again.
Insight? Absolutely. When you talk to as many single people as me, you got a lot of insight to share. Okay. Cam Newton should never get married. He and Ashanti. This one.
So another thing is, why should anybody take you seriously? When you have cards and you have a bunch of talking points, you're not being genuine. You're not. You have points that you need to get to regardless. And then you continuously point to celebrities, which they don't live like we do. And you look at yourself as a celebrity. You don't live like most people. You don't. So at one point, probably I'm gonna guess your college days and your pre-college days, you live like normal people. But we're talking about 30 some years ago. You don't know what people go through out here. But again, unfortunately, women listen to you and they listen to celebrities. And you always point out these celebrities. Case in point. In my opinion, when you point out celebrities, your argument is lost.
Really makes me upset. All right. Do I think that people who call my show have unrealistic expectations? Yes. But not just women, men do too. I think, and I even asked my audience this question, and even they said people have unrealistic expectations, and it came down to the money. Money is a big separation when it comes to dating now. Money did not always matter as much as it does now, even to the point where you just recite $100,000 like it's nothing. And what I've come to terms, to some people, 100K really isn't nothing, but that's not a lot of people because the average person does not make $100,000. They just don't. So if you have the money requirements of, I only will date men that make this amount of money, you have a small pool of men to choose from.
She don't get it.
This is a numbers game. This is not your lesson. This is not about you not being a queen. You're probably fine. I don't really know the dynamic. I'm talking pure data. This is pure data. There's only a certain amount of men that make that amount of money or more. Then you got to find him attractive. Then he has to also be available. And if you want marriage, he has to also desire marriage. Okay, so now your pool is extremely small, and then there's like 10,000, and that's just on the low end. I think it's more that want this man. So that man is in high demand, and I feel as though I know the data. I know how many women reach out to men that fit those categories when they come on my show, and I do not lie to women when I tell them, like, listen, I can prove data. 5,000 women reached out to this guy. Okay, so if you're one of 5,000, then girlfriend, wait for him. But it's a tricky conversation because
no, it's not.
See, what's happened is we're still dealing with this old playbook that our grandparents had, but we're not acknowledging the major differences. Okay. First,
so you're dealing with this old playbook that your grandparents had, but it worked. Regardless of whatever it is, it worked. It worked in the way that we had, past tense, we had families. When you tell me There's something more importante. When you tell me there's something more important than families, what's more important than families? I'll wait. Tell me in the comments. Is it your individual success where you are able to climb the corporate ladder and do all these type of things and been successful and being an adult and doing all this shit? Man, fuck that. Men don't care about that shit. You know what men want? Men want families. So when you talk about it's different from when our grandparents were that way, they had families. They understood what was important. Families are way more important than any six-figure salary you make, he make, blah, 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 blah. Fuck all of that. Let's make $60,000 and have a family. How about that? Man. Society has told them.
First of all, there was no dating app. There was no Kendra G Singles dating app when your grandfather was with your grandmother. There was no social media.
Trash.
So your grandmother just had to be the baddest woman on the block, okay? She had to be the finest woman on the block, or the finest woman in high school, or the finest woman in church, and then maybe if he went to college, the finest woman in college, because that's just what it was. And it was very clear that most people had children. You found someone to have children with. You know, it wasn't really socially acceptable for women to not be with the father of their children. Well, also, it wasn't even financially acceptable, because there was a time when women couldn't even get a bank account in her name. She couldn't get a house in her name. So there was a financial control and children that kept marriages together that probably, if somebody had enough finances to leave, would have left. Well, that's what we're dealing with now. Women have bossed up. They have their own money. So they're not willing to tolerate some of the things that people once tolerated back in the day. And
that's why society is not better. Women and the bossed up. Bossed up is that like a flex? So what that means is the women that have bossed up, such as yourself, can be a 46-year-old woman alone. And you know what? You're going to, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. You're going to die alone. And when we say die alone, we don't mean family, your cousins, your siblings. That's not what we mean. Family is those that are most closest to you, i.e., your husband, your children, which you have none of that. And at 46 years old, I'm thinking you're just in a coping stage, because your money that you make depends on you keeping up this fallacy that you're doing. And it's just damaging. It's just damaging, because if you went the other way and started promoting families, you would get hated much more. You would get hated much more. You wouldn't have as many followers. You promote this ratchet single mom, being single, boss up, like you just said, entrepreneurial, female behavior, and all this type shit. Keep promoting that type shit, and you're going to get no more than what you are. You're 46. Your life has no meaning besides your bank account, and frankly, money means nothing. Money is just a tool. That's all it is. But you know what means something? Your spouse, your mate, your partner, your children. Yeah, but you wouldn't know nothing about that. And that's why you have cue cards. You have a script, and that's what you're doing. I don't have no script. We over here, we talk about real life. So anybody that wants to listen to this scripted person, go ahead. If you want to listen to a person that's talking about real life, that's what I'm doing. Just real life. Normal. She's not normal. She's abnormal. And no other way to know that she's abnormal, whose forehead goes way the fuck back here. And y'all listen to this? While she's sitting in Beverly Hills in a skyscraper with all this shit going on in the background, and y'all think y'all can be like her? Or she can tell you what's best for you? Okay. Michael Jordan could never tell me what's best for me. I have no idea how he lives. No idea. LeBron James, I don't know how he lives now. He can't tell me what's best for me. I'm not gonna listen to him. I don't know. But y'all would listen to this?
Has been a big separation, and now there's also some women who do well financially. So I get it. I get the logic part of you make a certain amount of money.
No, you don't.
So your man should make a certain amount of money. Logically speaking, it makes sense.
No, it
but
don't.
The disconnect is you don't understand how that man who makes that amount of money, how he dates. And I know a lot of single men who do extremely well financially who have no desire to get married. They have none. And they will say it's a financial risk. You know, they've already built what they created. Some might have children, so that part has been fulfilled. So now that pool of guy is even lower. So it's unrealistic. Yes, it's absolutely unrealistic for some women to have a money requirement if you truly want a partnership. Now, if you are a woman that's like, this is my standard, and either I get that or nothing and I'm okay, I respect that.
Oh boy, you should be rich.
Because I'm not here to say to you, you better date a man that makes less. If you have decided that I live a certain way, this is how I want to move, and if I don't get a man that makes that amount of money that wants to date me back and have a partnership, I'm cool. And that is your business. But if you are a woman and having a man and having a partnership is very important to you, I would say do not have money at the top of the list and just date. Just date. I think that that's how women can get the power back when it comes to dating, because I argue all the time about the woman being the prize, but now I have to say that particular man that every woman wants, I think he will be considered the prize to a lot of women, because
the woman is not the prize. And I don't even want to speak in that term, right? Not the prize. If you think about the interdynamics between men and women, the men are more logical. We just do what makes sense. We're more practical. That's how men are. So bounce that off how the women are. You're much more emotional. You're much more nurturing. So that's where the man comes in and said, hey, that's just, it's not what it is, but here's what it is. Don't pay bills based off emotion. The logic comes in, pay bills when they're due. Don't pay bills when you feel like paying bills. A man would think, pay the goddamn bill when it's due. I don't care if you don't feel like paying it, because you got to get your nails done, your hair done, your toes done. No. The bill is due, pay it. Simple, logical. And if women even took the time to know men, all these podcasts and what this woman is doing, this shit would not be necessary. It would not be necessary. And I think we're getting back to something to where men and women will start to come back together. It's more on the side of women, because y'all need to come back to us, because y'all then went way the fuck over there. Men been right here the whole time. We still here. We waiting on y'all. That's why we don't approach. We don't approach. We waiting on y'all to stay. Men have accepted that to a certain degree, all women are fucking delusional. All y'all are delusional. You get in your own brain for whatever reason. You get in your own brain. We've accepted that. But when it gets to the point of projection, well, that's kind of a bridge too far for men, right? That just goes too far. Projection is you're gonna tell me what I am instead of asking me. When it gets to the point of, if I don't approach women, right? Oh, I don't like women. Oh, when I have an opinion about women, I'm a misogynist. If I have an opinion about women, oh, I'm gay. I like men. What? I'm just like, wow. That couldn't be farther from the truth. So, us men, we're telling you what we need you to do. We're telling you what we want. We're not approaching you until you give us what we want. That's it. It's actually pretty simple. Y'all making this shit so complicated because you're in your own brain. And there's several reasons for that. But let's let this person continue.
Because you're chasing him and you only want him. Now, if you stood and recognized who you are is amazing and anybody that gets a chance to link in your life is a lucky somebody, then you would date with that confidence and you would just date. Okay, I'm not saying date a bum on the street, he ain't got no job, he alcoholic. I'm not saying that, but there are quality guys with good characteristics who might not just make 100K. Okay, so if you start at the money and then you do the characteristic second, yes, you're gonna have a smaller pool, but that's a decision that only you can make for yourself. Next question. Okay, does the rating scale matter to men 1 through 10? So I was recently asked this question on the Shade Room because Stephen A. Smith did a conversation and he said that men should focus on a 7 opposed to a 9 or a 10. I'm gonna play the clip and then I'm gonna give my response.
All the men, there's no man alive that would disagree with what I'm about to say. You want a strong 7. Let me tell you why. 10, fine as all get out, tat out, body looking fine, everything like that, got it going on. Too much maintenance. Too much, because she knows she fine. And you're expendable. She could take you or leave you. A 9, that's a problem too. Because you got enough people telling her she's a 10, so half of them acting that way. And by the way, the ones that ain't acting that way still require more from you than what others might. And so you got to be up on your game. That's problematic. 8, that's ideal. Because that's really, really good looking. She got it going on. But at the same time, there's a level of independence that comes with it, which is never a bad thing, until she's so independent that she's making you feel like you need to be more dependent on her than she needs to be on you. Here's where the strong 7 comes in.
Talking about, bro.
Looks wise, she can compete with an 8. But her mentality is not that of an 8. So she's more appreciative of you wanting her. As a result, she shows an elevated appreciation for you wanting her. Therefore, she treats you like she wants you. And as a result, y'all have more of a good time together. Fellas, am I lying?
Yeah, you're lying. You're lying like a motherfucker. Because here's what it is. It's cooperation. You can be a 5. You can be a 5, and if you're natural as a 5, to a lot of it, if you're natural as a 5 and you're cooperative, that's a 9. Let's stop playing. If you're a 9 and you're uncooperative and you're not natural, go. Just go. We can afford you, but no. I would rather a 5 that's natural and cooperative than any 9. Any week of the day. Any week of the day. Fellas.
Okay, so shout out to Stephen A. Smith. I will say this. I have heard this time and time again. I definitely have heard men say focus on a 7 instead of a 10. But I will say this. The men that I heard say that they don't want to be husbands. Okay, I think that nobody wants to be with a person that they don't find attractive, but I think when men are settling down with women, the scale of 1 to 10, no, I'm gonna be honest, I think men chooses a 1. Let me break down what I mean when I say a 1.
Oh my gosh.
A 1 is one of one. A man settles down with a woman that he feels as though has this one-on-one factor that she has over every other 8 billion women that are on this planet. I don't know, it could be the mother to his children. It could be the woman that knew him before he was successful. It could be the woman that gave him a place to stay until he got on his feet. I don't really know what that wow factor is that he sees in her, but
gave him a place to stay while he got on his feet. All right.
he sees in her. And there's people that might say his wife is not attractive, or what does he see in her, and they're outside looking in, judging their marriage, but they got it, you know, and they're happy. And I feel as though when men settle down, they settle down with a girl they feel is one of one. She has something unique that no other woman has, and that is only can be determined by that guy. And I think that when we go into these scales, there's so many ways to challenge it, because, you know, I'm not going to name names because I'm not a mean-spirited woman, but there's women who may not be considered even a 7 married to millionaires. Like, it just is. So that's a grace. I feel like looks matter when you have a presentation.
So yeah, she's saying a bunch of nothing. Basically, she's pretty much saying everybody is different, everybody is unique, you all have hope. Doesn't matter if you're a 7 or if you're a 1 or if you're a 3, doesn't matter. You still have a chance to get that $100,000 man. This is basically what she's saying, when in reality, here's what she's doing. She don't want to kill women's dreams. That's what she's doing. Why would you be on a quest to lie to women? You got women out here realistically know that they are 3s and 4s. And you know what they get? They get 3s and 4s as men. That's just what happens. If you're average, you get average. If you're 8, 9, and 10, well, guess what people you attract? You attract 8, 9, and 10 men. Like, why is that so hard to accept and understand? Quit telling these women that are average, which is most women, most men, most people. Average get with average. Why would a 5'2", 180-pound woman come out here seeking a man that makes $100 and some $1,000 per year? Why would she even do that? If she does that, she's single, and if that's what it is, she's gonna remain single. Because a man that's making that type of money has some type of standards, and he will hit it. He'll hit it for like 6 weeks, 6 months, and then that's it. Like the video, comment on the video, share the video. If you're over here like we are right now, YouTube, Mr. Info 5000. Goodness gracious of life. Let's get this shit together. Peace.